I am back with part 4, maybe, already losing count. Lock me up, throw away the key. But we are getting to discussion questions, week 1. But really questions that span all 5 weeks, okay? And that's the brilliance, the joy of an asynchronous dialogue, an asynchronous lecture. We're tackling information that can benefit us in week 1, week 2, or week 5. And we can listen to it now. We can come back to it later, okay? And it isn't limited to this course. So despite having these fast track courses that we take, the knowledge, the information, the critical thinking, okay, the archival materials, we are able to utilize these for much longer periods of time. And that is part and parcel us living out the tenets of a liberal arts education, okay? Tools and experiences you can transfer from position to position, situation to situation, okay? So there's that plug of confidence in what we're doing here. We were looking at a couple of questions from Rosalind, and then we'll move on. Let me jump to the Denise text. All right, so Miss Rosalind includes the Denise's noting that in a sense, pop culture is a modern day experiment. Page 9. Got distracted. The word experiment, what a great word. Makes me think of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Was everyone required to read that in high school? I hope so. Probably not. And I'm sure more than 50% of people required to read it did not. But if you didn't, you missed out. Phenomenal book. What a depiction of society, not just then, but how it functions now. Here's the question. Get back on point, Dr. G. How do you believe that this modern day experiment of pop culture will be brought to a place of closure? Simple answer. Popular culture is open-ended. Okay? And so it will continue past capitalism, past any one culture's existence, all right? Because we can think about what we view now as history, the historical artifacts, the importances of previous cultures over centuries, millennia, in their time, those were forms of popular culture, okay? So we are making history as we kind of celebrate, mythologize these culturally sacred, perhaps secularly profane artifacts, okay? Ad infinitum. I think I got it right that time. But so pop culture is a contemporary method of making history, building power, driving political and social influence. All right? So it's going to outlast us all. And perhaps that's why so many of us are trying to, leave that 15 seconds of fame mark on the internet now with the rise of social media. Everyone wants to be viral. I think there's something to that, with that collective unconscious registering the role popular culture serves, the power, its functions, and so on. Okay, let's jump over to Erin. I feel like she's baiting me for snarky answers or something. There's a question responding to the Cal Talks Tech, how to use Twitter tutorial. Several of you wrote questions from the videos this week. I love that. A couple of these videos weren't necessarily designed for questions, but I'm all about it, so that's why I'm giving a little bit of attention where I can. But there will be future videos where we absolutely want to play with that and explore your questions that you might have coming out of those videos. I noticed when watching tutorial, the functionality of his Twitter app is different than mine in many ways. I assume it's because he's using iPhone and I have an Android. No judging. Why is there such a difference between the same app on different phones? Cause money. Cause money, you know, and functionality. I mean, you know, what do you call it? Free market competitive difference, and but you know, different coders, different codes for different folks, something like that. Okay. Introduction to Media Literacy crash course in media literacy. So a short video we posted up on YouTube on the D12. This speaker mentions the increase in media literacy education in school. Does this include K through 12 or primarily higher education programs? Yes and no. Not all. Okay, so not all, obviously, but some of the better funded schools are getting that attention, that digital literacy, because they're recognizing that's the forward thinking approach. Like, so they're starting to get their students better equipped, readily available to tackle those kinds of jobs. Not unlike what we're trying to do here, right? Small private institute. We are looking for ways to be innovative because we can do more with less, right? We have fewer restrictions and more opportunities, all right? So that's exciting. Danisi, popular culture. Chapter 1, page 8 introduces the term youth culture. And that is absolutely a key term here. It discusses the fact that most pop culture was influenced by younger generations. Are there, however, some examples of pop culture originating with an older generation? How old was... Never mind. I'm going to get sidetracked. Here's what I did think of, though, for this conversation. Music, movie, or film, and television producers, okay? Maybe not the writers. Maybe not the actors, actresses, although some. Maybe not the directors, but many. But the producers. Producers are often old, white, rich men, okay? So, they are playing an influence game. Owners of major league sports teams, on the whole, like majority, overwhelming majority, old, white, rich men. Of course, now like ownership groups, right? And so then it's like a handful of companies and then blah, 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 blah. But I mean, you want to really pull the curtain back. That's what we're looking at here. And so, you know, in the history of this country, and even in British colonialism before that, money flowed downward from the sort of upper class, kind of Eurocentric, Caucasian elites. All right, and this system of progress is slow, right? It sort of churns slowly, wheels of time. And even at a slow turn, there are growing pains and the anxieties and tensions that come with change over time. All right, and so these types of anxieties, social anxieties, cultural anxieties, have ramifications, and when people feel them, they feel, you know, anxious. These manifest in many ways. Let me do this. Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, draws upon this. This is a central tenet at the intersection of Gothic literature, horror, and science fiction. Is our fears associated with technology and change and progress? All right, just did it. Pin the star. So I would, you know, just pulled the curtain back a little bit there. Maybe there's some pocket universe of additional players, and I mean, everything is tongue in cheek here on the Asynchronous channel. But let me move on before I continue to say ridiculous things. Does nostalgia, as discussed on page 3031, necessarily hinge on existing examples of pop culture, or could something that wasn't originally considered pop culture become so through nostalgia? I love what this is a playful question. I love what you're getting at here. I think the first thing that came to mind was American Pickers, right? American Pickers trades on these cultural terms like junkers, hoarding, lowbrow culture, right? Lowbrow cultural exchange, and then terms even like it turns trash into treasure. That old adage, one man's trash is another man's treasure. We'd have now one person's trash. One person. This is one of many ways in which popular culture operates. Okay, so popular culture has many rules in many ways in which it wields power and persuades. It can do it at a high level, it can do it at a low level. But Pickers brings to mind this idea of a lot of stuff is thrown out, right? Sitting under an old oak tree with insects and weeds all over it. And if I can just acquire it at a bargainable price, now let me put the spit shine on it, and all of a sudden I know someone, some very well off, older baby boomer in, I don't know, Columbus, Ohio, and he's willing to pay, $10,000 for it. Oh, well, okay, right? We've just seen the transformation of an artifact in popular culture. Hey, and guess what? And by the way, this show's on television. And TV is just this magical MacGuffin, and we just everything that happens on it is this it carries an aura, right? So the lowly working class looking, what are their names? Mike and something, I believe. The hosts of American Pickers. Fast forward, they've been doing this now for how long has that show been on? At least 10 years. 12 years? 15 years maybe? And these guys have to be, they're still buying things at a bargain and like, real worried about that margin of profit. I'm sure the TV money has them sitting, as comfortable, multimillionaires at this point. So, that's what is truth, what is fiction. All of it blurs under the lens of popular culture. Okay. One more question. Spencer, writing in the 21st century. APA style is that we use at MacU is a technical style, correct? Page 6. I get that we're using it to be consistent across programs, but it might make more sense to use AP style, Associated Press, in programs such as the Comm Media and Ethics degree, since that is what many of us would be required to use in the field as journalistic standard. I was taught APA style at the undergraduate level. I was taught that for mass comm courses, right? News gathering, reporting, all of those journalism related types of courses. And I got out. Some of those I used. I never traded or sold that book. I forgot. I totally got distracted earlier. I was even looking around to see if it was in this office or not. I've seen it. I've come across it recently. But some of it I practiced, some of it I did not. Afterward, when I got into grad school, master's program and PhD program, both of those departments emphasized APA. So APA has a strong history associated with the communication studies discipline. That said, we also practice other things, MLA Chicago. They're all useful, but it's about uniformity. And let me say this, though, is one of our most important, not only values or educational goals, but also warnings is APA maximizes ethics, the ethics of avoiding plagiarism. And plagiarism is something people, for whatever reason, students struggle with mightily at large universities where I've taught, many, and smaller ones, including here. So plagiarism is like this mountain, this hurdle we have to overcome. In any event, we're going to be back one more session. We're going to do one final session of asynchronous lecture. Yeah. And we'll be on to the races.